Shalom, brethren. How you doing? We had our last men's meeting canceled, so I wanted to make sure that we uploaded something specifically for the brothers. We'll put this on YouTube. Well, I'll try to. This might be private. I don't know. It might be private or public, but I'll put it out there at least for a little bit where everybody can see it, so that all the brothers can have an opportunity at least to the end of the year. And then from there, if you missed this one, we'll make sure that we put it somewhere else and post it somewhere else. Because it's for everyone, I do apologize for, I know I'm a brother, but still, my shoulder showing and stuff like that. I try to make sure that I'm not indecent, just in case sisters or children are watching something, and not to be disrespectful to my home, to my family. So please forgive the appearance, but you shouldn't be able to see it so much anyways. But thank you all for being on. Appreciate you. Wanted to kind of revisit something. We were actually going to use something that we ended up using publicly for everybody else, 2 Kings chapter 4. And in 2 Kings chapter 4, we were able to discuss Naaman or Naaman. Right? Is it 2 Kings 4 or 2 Kings 5? Might be 2 Kings 5. But we were able to discuss Naaman or Naaman, and how he was somebody that had to dip himself 7 times in the River Jordan. Right? And talking about his obedience in doing so. And really, for our brothers, when we go back to that, when you get a chance to read that, feel free to read it and get everything you can out of it. When we go back into that, one of the things that we must recognize and realize is, reading through this text, for us as brothers, maybe we should look at the prophet as our brother, right? And leaning on each other, and leaning on a brother that knows Yahweh's will, knows his word, knows his ways. Remember now, the prophet Naaman is powerful. He's done many great things. He's helped a lot of people. He's won a lot of battles. He has many men under him. He's obedient. He doesn't try to take over the king. He's the king's right-hand man, which probably speaks volumes about the king as well, and how he takes care of him and treats him with respect. So, but Naaman is somebody who is to be applauded for his life. He has everything going well in his life. However, there's an add-on to it, right? Which is, he's a leper. Now, this is the crucial part. He has all this stuff going on, but you got to add on to it that he is, in fact, a leper. Now, this is interesting because sometimes we can have all this stuff going on in life. We can have all these different things happening. We can promote all these different ways of looking at self and looking at others, etc., and not realize that even in all that stuff, we can be going through some stuff that is, in fact, leprous. In other words, we can have a lot of things going on. Everybody thinks you're the man. Everybody thinks that you're wise, you're majestic. You know, nobody can do anything without you. Everybody in your family loves these things, right? A lot of men, a lot of husbands, a lot of fathers have dealt with this, where everybody swears that you can do no wrong and that everything's going to be fine and straight and all this stuff. And then come to find out, that there's something that people don't recognize. There's something that's still not together. There's something in your life that's falling apart. There's some bill that you're not aware how you're going to be able to pay it. There's some way that you're treated at work that if people knew about it, they would lose their mind, right? There's something that we always need to be healed of. And this is Naaman's situation. Naaman is a great man, one to be looked up to, one to be applauded, one to be lauded, one to be gifted, one to be given more, one to be trusted. But he's a leper. That means even though he's great to his wife, his marriage is still falling apart in certain ways because he can't touch his wife. At times cannot even be in the same room as her. It never says that he does not love her and she does not love him. But if you're leprous, out of respect and wanting great health and wealth and life for your wife, you wouldn't be able to touch her in certain ways. Right? I cannot remember. I do not believe it says he has children. Right? But even if he were to have a child, what could he do with the child, with being leprous? Usually they would even have some kind of mask or something that they might wear at a certain point, not simply because they want to keep things away from you, not simply because parts of their face might fall off and that could be disconcerting, which is not even a far exaggeration of things that happen to certain people who had leprosy, but also you wouldn't want people to see discoloration or see your body falling apart in front of them, right? So he has to cover his face. He has to cover his body. He cannot have contact with people, or at least not skin to skin. And he has to be very much so wrapped up. He has to be wrapped away from the word. He has to be wrapped away from the world. He has to be covered in such a manner that people don't have to look on who he really is. And the best parts of his life are the times that he doesn't have to look upon his situation. He has to live with it, but he swears it'd be best for him to not look on it. That's a lot. It would be best for him, right, to do certain things, but he doesn't want to look upon it. Right? He's got to live with it, but he doesn't want to look upon it. His whole life is looking upon everything else that men give him glory for. And then all the times he's bowed down to false spirits and all these different things. Every time he's looked at idols, he's prayed many prayers. He's asked for forgiveness of things possibly. His wife has probably prayed for him, his friends, the king, everybody. But he has really nobody to go to in this king and this friend and this great friend and this other great man. Healing doesn't come. And as men, we can be in a lot of great relationships and be in relationships that healing doesn't come in. And so really what I'm trying to get us to think towards is this. When we go into next year as men, as brothers, our mindset should be that everything we do is to heal. We want our main goal. So as a goal for all of SOC, right? Our goal for SOC, right? Our theme for SOC is what? Is going to be expect a blessing, the expectation of a blessing. For us as men, under that umbrella, of course, I would like for us to think about how we can be a blessing to others, how we can be a support system, how we can support a business idea, how we can cause comfort to be in people's lives, how we can control a situation for our family, or not control, but you know what I'm saying, allow Yehovah to come through us that he might be able to take control, and we might be the vessels and the stewards that we're called to be, right? Naaman had all this, he had the friends, he had the money, he had the wealth, he had the wife, but he didn't have a brother who could heal. Matter of fact, his friend, being a king, says, let me go ahead and write a letter and send you on your way to another king. Right? I'm a king. This is what I do. I'm your boy. I love you. So I can't hear you, but hey, I only, I mess around with kings. You know how I be, bruh. Like, let me go ahead and send you to another king. And then he sends him to the other king. And when the king gets the letter, the king freaks out and is frustrated and thinks that Naaman has been sent to take his life, to kill him. Because in his mind, how in the world is somebody going to send somebody to me to heal them? I might be a king, but I'm not a prophet. I might be a king, but Yehovah has not called me to heal this person. And see, if we're not careful, we're looking as kings, as men, to go to all these different people that we've heard about. This doctor should do this doctor should do that, this person that deals with our children should do this person that does this person that, all these different people to tell us where, and how we should move and how we should operate. And Yehovah is like, but that's not necessarily where your healing's going to come from, bro. That's not necessarily where I sent you. That's not what I'm trying to really get across to you. That might be what you like, but that's not where I've sent you. So he goes through all this stuff and he's looking through all these things and he's sitting there like, man, the king won't deal with me. And so the prophet, right, is sent word, and the prophet says, king, this is something that's not on your level. You send him to the wrong person. You send him to the wrong brother. Send the brother to me. And so Naaman comes, and Naaman has been sent with all of his, all of his clothes and money, and the king has gifted him, and he's got custom-made apparel, and, he rocking it. He got all these people following him on camelback, possibly horseback, and, he's looking like a king himself because he's in the company of kings. And matter of fact, one king has realized that he can't even serve this Naaman, right? Naaman gets to where the prophet is. The prophet's in, little place chilling out. And the prophet doesn't stop everything that he's doing. Naaman doesn't like the presentation. We talked about this already in our, I think, the Satan series, when we talked about the presentation of the prophet. A lot of people don't like the presentation of the prophet. He doesn't like the presentation. It's not what he thought. He had heard through his wife that her young handmaiden, who was an Israelite, had said that if you go back to Israel, there's a prophet that can heal. And they didn't even listen to the instruction. They went looking for all these men and all these friends and all these brothers that they thought were this and that or whatever. But the brother they were looking for was the prophet. And when they went to the prophet, they finally went where they were instructed to go. They didn't like the fact that they got to humble means, and didn't like the fact that they had to humble themselves. Now, matter of fact, I won't even say they. Naaman didn't like it. He shows up at the prophet's place. The prophet doesn't even come outside. He sends out his boy. He sends out his apprentice. And the apprentice comes out and says, hey, you know, your boy said do this and this and this or whatever. Naaman is furious because not only did the prophet not come outside to beat her, but also the prophet has told him to dip himself in some water 7 times and then that'll be it. Naaman is upset because he was expecting, since he came with this great presentation, he should get all this great stuff and he should have been told to do something amazing. He was thinking fire was going to rain down from heaven and all these different things. We are in the same boat a lot of times as men. You know, we're thinking, okay, something's got to happen. And so, hey, nothing's happened. Like, I'll talk to a lot of brothers. I'll talk to a lot of us and I'll hear our problems. And by the way, thank you for even allowing me to share in on some of those problems with you and things of that nature, right? But you talk to a lot of brothers and you hear them and they go through this long list of stuff and this laundry list and they say things like, you know, I know you're saying, but I've tried this. I've done this before. I've tried this. I've did this or whatever. I'm like, yeah, you got to be consistent. You got to try something different. And they're waiting for, no, you're going to, you know, they're waiting for you to give them some grand text or some scripture that nobody's ever shown them before or this and that. And sometimes it's no, you're going to have to dip. You're going to have to be obedient and dip yourself, and not just once, but 7 times. And you're going to have to tell people sometimes you're going to have to dip yourself and go through it and not get what you're looking for the first few times, but keep dipping yourself. And this is what, and the brother is, Naaman is kind of miffed at this, but a lot of us are miffed at this as well as men, because sometimes you got to do the same thing even when you know you're not going to get the result that you want. You've got to keep dipping yourself. And what a lot of people don't tell us as men is that, hey, when you dip yourself, there's no guarantee the first time you go down it's going to be healed. Matter of fact, I would tell you, just like the doctor would tell you, if you were to go to the doctor, if you were to go to get antibiotics, if you were to go get your antibiotics, what happens with your antibiotics? Your antibiotics will be, will help you. Your antibiotics might even start to heal you. You might even feel better after a couple of days. You might see whatever's infection, you know, go away. Or at least look like it's going away, but the doctor will say, you must take the antibiotics for at least a couple weeks. Even if you feel better after the first couple days, you still have 12 more days to go. And a lot of people will stop taking the antibiotic and then say, why didn't I get healed? And then try to figure out what's going on, when the reality is the antibiotic's supposed to be taken until the doctor says otherwise, right? And the same thing was with Naaman. Naaman dipped down in the water. He goes in the water. The first time he dips nothing. The second time he dips nothing. The third time he dips nothing. The 4th time he dips nothing. 5th time he dips nothing. The 6th time. After a while, you got to say to yourself, is it going to be done? But how many people know in Yechashra, right, in Avra, in our Aleph Bayit, in our Aleph Beit, that the 6th time means that it's finished, that it's nailed, that it's complete. So the 7th time he comes up and he's whole, as what was said. The prophet, the brother, the right brother, the brother who believed what he believed, the brother who was walking the path that he wanted to walk, was able to open his eyes, and Naaman only was able to have, see, people are talking about the story of he was healed in leprosy, but really spiritually he was healed in blindness. His body, his life was falling apart low key. However, he had no sight because he didn't even know what the Most High wanted. And he was almost going to give up. He was almost finished. He was almost done. He was almost at a place where he said, I'm not going to do this. Matter of fact, he almost didn't do it. If it wasn't for his boys that traveled with him and said, hey, man, how difficult is it to dip yourself in some water? If they had told you to jump off a cliff, if they had told you to do 15 cartwheels, if they had rained down fire from heaven and said, you got to get burnt up, but then you won't get burned, like you would have went through all that because you thought that's what it took. Go ahead and dip yourself and be obedient. And don't just dip yourself once. Dip yourself once, twice, thrice. Right? 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, do it even 7. Do it until completion. Brothers, as we get ready to expect a blessing next year, expect a blessing, but don't stop because you dipped one time and you didn't get what you wanted. Finish strong what we have for this year, but keep dipping until you get the result. Appreciate y'all. Much love, much respect. Take care. Shalom, brother. Peace.